in this conversation of burnout with pastors, one very clear matter that became very clear for me recently when we had IBL, Institute for Biblical Leadership, out at the church, and Dave Dietz came and Joel Tetro, and one thing that I would think helped with you guys as elders, because it certainly did with us as deacons, and looking at the process being a part of it was, and you brought up the role clarification, just everybody knowing their lane, where they're at.
Mm.
I think that probably that'll relieved a lot of pressure, right, on the team and even on your own
Yeah,
shoulders.
we had that, but Dave and Joel helped us take it to the next level. The way that it works at our church is that once someone becomes a deacon or an elder, they have a meeting with our elder chairman, which is Corey Scheid. And Corey sits down, and together that deacon and that elder with Corey develops their roles and expectations, their R&Es. So we don't say you're doing this and that you just have to do it. They work together to come up with what is a reasonable expectation for them to accomplish in their role and how it fits into the body. And that's extremely helpful because once we do the R&Es, we just realize, okay, that guy does that, and I don't have to think about
You're
it.
not putting expectations on one of the
No.
pastors that you shouldn't be, because this
Right.
other one
And-
is able to handle
And
that.
the other beautiful thing about it is the church takes on its own I don't know what the word I'm looking for, its own personality. It churches tend to mimic their pastors' personalities, and that is more true of churches where the pastor tries to have his hand in everything. It's less true of churches where I had a pastor tell me one time, don't hire guys and tell them what to do. Hire talent and let them do what God has called them to do. And ever since I had that ministry mind shift, our church has changed. Our church is less a reflection of me, and I believe we're becoming more of what God has intended us to be as a body of believers. And so it's really exciting as a shepherd when you really get a hold of that concept and you start to unleash people and God raises up people to do, and then you see them succeeding at what God has called them to do and they're finding joy and finding their stride. And then the church doesn't become a celebrity situation or all about the teaching of one guy. And
Yeah, I want to push back, no, not push back, but clarify a little bit. Like when Ryan talked about the guys who are burned out and leave probably weren't called. There may be that's a true aspect, but I know in my own life. So it's been an interesting journey because I was in pastoral ministry for 20 years. Then I moved into IBL, and quite honestly, I was happy to leave the not the church necessarily, but I just needed a break. The church we were at in Denver, a lot of stuff had gone on and changed and things that we had done. And then coming into the church in Michigan and just a lot over a 12-year period, a lot of stuff. And so I was kind of ready for a break to say, okay, if I don't ever pass. In fact, I had to bring myself to say, can I move into IBL knowing I'm not going to be pastoring? And I'm like, yeah, I miss the every week preaching series, all that stuff. And I got into IBL about a year or year and a half, and I started having these weird feelings like when I would work with an elder team. And I remember I would come away from a weekend, like we just got done again this weekend working with a team, and I'd come away from that going, man, I kind of just want to stay here. I couldn't explain it, but there was something there that I was almost longing for. And then I'm like, well, that's odd. Well, maybe at first it was like, well, maybe it's just because I connected with those guys. But then I would go to another church where maybe I didn't connect as much. And I'm like, I want to stay here. And I kept like, what is this? In fact, I went to Ryan at some point, like a year and a half ago. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on. Well, you come to realize, like, actually, I just needed a break. But even within my role of IBL, and God is still putting me through an interesting journey in my own life. But it's a process of sitting there saying, I can help pastors all day long and help leaders all day long. And yes, I was in 20 years in pastoral ministry. But for Dave Dietz, I still need to be an elder in a local church. And I've got to figure out how to make that work. Because even now, and we've had some things that we thought were going to happen and they didn't happen. And now we're on a different journey with that. But even within that, it's like I can't not pursue this. And I think that goes back to that 1 Timothy 3:1. If whoever desires
Yes.
the office of the bishop in King James, that's what I grew up memorizing. Whoever desires, I'm the only one who doesn't have a Bible up here, like Chris doesn't. But whoever desires the office of the bishop desires a good thing. That word desire means to reach out and snatch. You can't not do this, but it doesn't mean that there's not a time period that maybe you
Yeah.
need to go. I need a break. And I think that was for me. I backed out, but then it was because I honestly thought when I joined IBL, I thought, oh, good, that's in the rearview mirror. I'm not, 20 years, I did my thing, and I'm good. I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden, I'm dealing with some personal stuff going, what is this longing? Like, what is this? I'm busy. It's not like I need something more to do, but this longing that even now I cannot escape. I cannot just turn my back on it. So I think guys do need a break.